Who needs him? If the Russian services had wanted to fatally poison him, they would have brought it to the end. He, Navalny, has the support of the American Special Services, and if it's true, it's quite interesting.
Well, let's bring in the broadcast journalist Dana Lewis, who joins us live now from London. Hello to you, Dana. So these are quite extraordinary comments from President Putin, weren't they? What do you make of them?
Well, I don't know how extraordinary they are, but they're certainly interesting, especially given the fact that you have a new incoming administration in January, Joe Biden, and it kind of tiles the floor a little bit for their future relations because, I mean, first of all, he says, yes, they did, keep an eye on Navalny, which indicates that Navalny was under surveillance. So at least he admits that much. And then, as he played in that soundbite, he essentially says if the Russians had wanted to kill him, he would be dead. But I mean, the fact is that this investigation by Bellingcat, the independent media group, along with some other media outlets that kind of tagged along, I mean, was very, very detailed in that they've been able to identify the FSB officers from Russia that were surveilling Alexei Navalny across the country. They geolocated telephones. They traced them to a lab that they were working out of Moscow. So Putin's, trying to shrug it off, blaming U.S. special services. So that brings me back to my original point. I mean, he's saying the U.S. was behind this information and that Bellingcat was just used to legitimize materials that were provided by the U.S. spy services, special services, to use his words. So, I mean, it doesn't set a good kind of, new atmosphere for when he will eventually have to engage with President Biden, and that will happen very soon, President-elect Biden.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the US there, but what effect did the poisoning have on Putin's relations with wider Western countries?
Well, I think it's further poisoned the pool and made it more difficult for any kind of rapprochement with Russia. I mean, Germany cannot ignore this, and Angela Merkel went to Navalny's bedside and met with him, and the Germans were involved in identifying the poison, Novichok, and sending it out to labs, and France has condemned it. Britain has condemned it. So it makes it very difficult for any kind of climb down in the future with Russia. But, there is this I talked to Mike McFaul, the former U.S. ambassador, about this. And he said, look, there's a two-track diplomatic approach to Russia, which will continue. And that is that, we'll condemn their human rights. The U.S. will condemn their human rights. They'll call them out on things like the Navalny poisoning and condemn them and be more vocal than President Trump has, who essentially has tried to ignore the whole thing. Biden will be much tougher, and so will Western nations following Biden. But at the same time, they've got business to do, Rob. And, they've got the START treaty expires in January, which governs all of the nuclear warheads that the two countries have. They've got to very quickly decide with Biden whether they're going to extend that with Russia or at least extend it for a year. So, I mean, they're going to have to, deal with both these atmospheres.
Okay, Dana Lewis, good to talk to you. Many thanks indeed for joining us.
Thanks, Robin.